This is definitely the most bizarre love story I've ever seen. The male protagonist Nasa encounters an accident while trying to talk to a beautiful woman. Just as his life is coming to an end, he miraculously resurrects and successfully confesses his feelings to the beauty. Soon, they enter their marriage. What exactly has happened? Let's take a look at the wonderful life of Nasa. The male protagonist is under a lot of pressure because his name is pronounced NASA in Japanese, which is the same as the abbreviation of National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Therefore, everyone who first knows his name would burst out laughing. So from an early age, he aspired to become a more famous person than NASA. Before the senior high school entrance exam, NASA vows to get into the best high school. Convinced that he will not fail, NASA insists on filling only this high school in his voluntary list, even though the head teacher reminds him to have a backup school. Unexpectedly, NASA meets his destined partner before the high school entrance examination while suffering an accident. Although the girl manages to save him, he is seriously injured and falls into the blood. Seeing her walking toward the moon, NASA thinks she's like Princess Kaguya. At this moment, he realizes that if he misses her this time, it would be a regret for the rest of his life. In order to talk to the girl he falls in love with at first sight, NASA refuses to take the ambulance and tries his best to catch up with her. The girl is named Tsukasa. Seeing NASA running over with a bloody face, Tsukasa can't help but remind him to cherish life. She gently wipes the blood from NASA's face and gives him her coat. She plans to call another ambulance for him, asking him to wait at the station. However, NASA is reluctant to part with Tsukasa. He once again catches up with her, costing the last of his strength to confess his feelings to her. Tsukasa is impressed by NASA's persistence, offering to date him on the premise of marriage. Overly thrilled, NASA agrees to her request before fainting. But since that day, NASA has not seen Tsukasa again. Busy studying and rehabilitating every day, he has a very fulfilling life. Unfortunately, he missed the high school entrance examination and had to repeat his studies for a year. A year later, NASA is admitted to his target high school with the highest score in the city. However, he chooses to drop out. He wants to see Tsukasa again, but he doesn't have any of her contacts. Hence, NASA gets jobs allowing him to meet different customers. Meanwhile, to not worry his parents, he rents a small condo to live alone. To his surprise, when NASA reaches 18, Tsukasa suddenly appears on his doorstep. Having not seen her for such a long time, NASA feels quite nervous facing Tsukasa's cuteness. Even more surprising, Tsukasa directly proposes to marry him. Although NASA is confused about it, he likes Tsukasa very much, and he cooperates in filling out the marriage application. Since the marriage registry in Japan is open 24 hours, they decide to submit the marriage application immediately. The staff of the registry congratulates them and gives them a wedding gift. NASA didn't expect the marriage process to be so simple, and he feels like he is in his dream. To make NASA aware of the fact that they are married, Tsukasa takes the initiative to ask to hold hands. NASA has never held a girl's hand, so the moment he touches Tsukasa, he feels shy but happy. But NASA isn't ready to live with Tsukasa yet because his condo is too small. Looking at the only single bed in the bedroom, NASA can't help but fantasize about them lying in bed together, only to be discovered by Tsukasa because he forgot to lock the door of the room. Tsukasa thinks the bed is too small, and it will be uncomfortable for them to sleep together. Since there is only one quilt at home, Tsukasa decides to stay in a hotel for one night. Seeing Tsukasa leaving, NASA suddenly feels a strong sense of unease, which prompts him to catch up with Tsukasa. He decides to buy quilts right now to have Tsukasa stay and sleep for the night. Getting the new quilt, Tsukasa lays it on the floor and invites NASA to feel the new quilt with her, but NASA rejects Tsukasa's request out of shyness. Before going to bed, Tsukasa finds that there's neither bathroom nor spare toiletry in the condo. She then holds the hand of NASA, heading to the convenience store, where NASA buys nightwear for Tsukasa. It is their first night together, and NASA blushes at the thought of sleeping with Tsukasa in the same room. Tsukasa in whatever outfit is very cute for NASA. When the moonlight shines on her, he feels that she is as beautiful as a work of art. Since it's his first time spending the night with a girl, NASA is in extreme excitement all night and can't sleep at all. Looking at Tsukasa's sleeping face, NASA finds that she not only sleeps sprawled over the bed, but also gets up in the middle of the night to drink water. After that, Tsukasa snatches NASA's quilt. Even so, NASA still thinks she's very cute and is happy to just quietly look at her. After their first night together, they give each other nicknames. From this moment on, their happy life gradually opens its curtain. In the morning, Tsukasa puts on an apron, preparing breakfast for NASA. Looking at her outfit, NASA can't help but sigh that she is like a newlywed wife. Hearing this, Tsukasa corrects NASA, saying that she is indeed his wife. Opening NASA's fridge, Tsukasa is surprised to see a variety of food. NASA explains he aims at a healthy diet, and after analyzing the nutrients that adult men need every day, he designed the perfect recipe for efficient nutrition intake. Hot pot, but he eats the same thing every day, which makes Tsukasa consider him as someone who doesn't know how to enjoy his life. It only takes her 10 minutes to make a delicious and nutritious breakfast. Without a bathroom, they have to go to a nearby bathhouse every day to take a shower. After breakfast, Tsukasa takes NASA to buy a set of skincare products, which gives him a new understanding of girls' world, as NASA never expects a girl's skincare routine to be so cumbersome. The bathhouse that NASA frequents is managed by Kaname, a junior of his. While cleaning at the door of the bathhouse, Kaname meets NASA and Tsukasa, surprised to learn that they are married. To celebrate their marriage, Kaname decides to offer Tsukasa a free service. As Tsukasa enters the bathhouse, Kaname stops NASA for a talk. She always thought that NASA had no interest in girls, as he spent all his time studying. Unexpectedly, he got married at such a young age. Since NASA never thinks of proposing or having a wedding, Kaname emphasizes the meaning of marriage to him. As a husband, NASA must show love to Tsukasa to make her happy. NASA admits that he is not ready to get married, but he is very fond of Tsukasa and he is confident that he will make Tsukasa happy. At this time, Tsukasa accidentally hears NASA's confession, feeling shy and happy. While bathing, Tsukasa meets Kaname's sister, Aya. Aya is a very enthusiastic girl. She insists that she has disturbed Tsukasa and decides to apologize to her by rubbing her back. Japanese women usually take their husband's surnames after marriage, so when Aya learns Tsukasa's name, she asks about her relationship with NASA. Tsukasa replies that they are a family, causing Aya to mistake Tsukasa for NASA's sister. Just then, Tsukasa is curious about how Aya and NASA met, so Aya reveals their story. She and NASA were classmates in junior high school. When the bathhouse encountered a business crisis, NASA helped to provide a detailed solution. With his help, the operation of the bathhouse was greatly improved. Aya is therefore very grateful to NASA. After learning of the story, and seeing how close their interaction is, Tsukasa can't help but be a little jealous. Coupled with the fact that NASA has always praised Aya for being cute, Tsukasa is very upset. NASA senses Tsukasa's abnormality, mistakenly thinking she's bothered by not having a wedding. Therefore, while passing by the church, NASA decides to prepare a wedding immediately to make Tsukasa happy. Tsukasa returns home alone, feeling lonely. When the doorbell rings, Tsukasa thought it was NASA and quickly opens the door, only to see her sister Chitose. Tsukasa seems to be very resistant to Chitose and refuses to communicate with her. She tells Chitose that she has been married and prefers to be left alone. After that, Chitose doesn't leave but stays downstairs crying, which happens to be seen by NASA. Knowing that NASA is her sister's husband, Chitose gets furious, because in her eyes, nobody deserves her sister Tsukasa. However, NASA doesn't mind what Chitose said to him, and after knowing Tsukasa lived in Chitose's place for a long time, he invites her to dinner to show his gratitude. However, Chitose still refuses to accept NASA as her sister's husband. To break them apart, she has her bodyguards capture NASA and forcibly bring him to her house. Chitose's plan is to make NASA close to a maid and take pictures of them, so that Tsukasa will think that NASA has betrayed her. NASA, of course, won't be at the mercy of Chitose's arrangement. While Chitose is talking to the maid, he takes the opportunity to escape. Since Chitose's mansion is quite big and luxurious, NASA happens to walk into Tsukasa's room during his escape. To his surprise, he actually sees a moon rock in the room. The moon rocks brought back by Apollo are all national treasures of the United States, and except for those for public exhibition, most are kept in Houston, so NASA can't believe the moon rock is real. Just then, some maids find NASA. One of the maids named Charlotte claims that this moon rock is very important for Tsukasa, and anyone who enters this room will be wiped out by her. In the course of their argument, Charlotte's sword accidentally hits the glass case of the moon rock. To not damage the moon rock, NASA immediately orders the maids to get tools to repair the glass case. Meanwhile, Chitose rushes over looking very nervous, so NASA determines that the moon rock is real. Chitose explains that it was borrowed by her grandmother to comfort Tsukasa. NASA does not know much about Tsukasa's past, neither does he understand the meaning of this moon rock to Tsukasa. Hearing this, Chitose is even more convinced that a man who doesn't even know Tsukasa's real identity can't be her husband. Compared with NASA, Chitose believes she is the perfect partner for Tsukasa because she has vowed to live for Tsukasa for the rest of her life since she was saved by her as a child. Following Chitose's wishes, Charlotte forcibly hugs NASA, pressing his head into her private part, while another maid takes pictures of them and uses a retouching app to make NASA look like a very lecherous person. Just then, Tsukasa shows up and happens to see the picture. She pretends to be angry and takes the opportunity to escape through the secret passage with NASA. The exit of the secret passage is a church, which Tsukasa has been considering a beautiful place, and she finally gets a chance to bring NASA here. Just then, Nasa notices that the vibe between them and the location are perfect, taking the initiative to propose to Tsukasa. He wants to be a supportive couple with her, going through both happiness and sadness together. In the end, Nasa kisses Tsukasa and vows to only love her for the rest of his life. When they get home, Tsukasa plans to watch a film she is looking forward to, only to find there is no TV in Nasa's home. Tsukasa loves watching films, and she wants them to have some hobbies in common. Therefore, Tsukasa recommends many films for Nasa, urging him to watch them as soon as possible. Nasa didn't expect Tsukasa to love films so much. Though he isn't into films, he still agrees to her request and takes her to the store to get a TV. Later, while taking a bath in the bathhouse, Nasa tells Kaname about his marriage proposal, but Kaname finds Nasa's proposal lines very disgusting. In her opinion, verbal promises are not enough, and a wedding ring is indispensable. Although the wife will often show that she isn't interested in luxurious stuff in front of her husband, she doesn't indeed mean it, but to not hurt the man's self-esteem. After bathing, Nasa and Tsukasa go for a walk in the park. Looking at Tsukasa's cute face, he can't help but kiss her. The two maids of Chitose happen to see it, but to not anger Chitose, they decide to keep it secret. Nasa has never understood the meaning of a wedding ring. Not until he has to separate from Tsukasa for work does he realize that a wedding ring is to make them feel each other's presence when they are separated. However, when Nasa offers to buy a ring for Tsukasa, she rejects it. There are two types of rings. One is the diamond ring for engagement, which is usually ornate and will only be worn on important occasions. The other is wedding rings, which will be worn every day, so the shape is relatively simple. Diamond rings are expensive, and if he buys 3 rings, Nasa will cost a fortune. Tsukasa guesses that he does not yet know the price of diamonds, so she takes him to the jewelry store trying to discourage him. Sure enough, Nasa is indeed shocked by the high price of diamond rings, but he thinks it is proof of their love. Insisting on buying one, Tsukasa doesn't want Nasa to spend all his savings on buying the ring, hurriedly stopping him. Nasa, however, explains the meaning of the ring to Tsukasa. He can't be with Tsukasa all the time, so he wants to have the ring accompany her. Tsukasa is so touched that she takes the initiative to kiss Nasa. Eventually, they go to a mid-grade jewelry store and get the cheapest wedding rings. In the following story, Nasa finally realizes that the small condo isn't a suitable place for a couple to live together. As we mentioned, Tsukasa isn't a quiet sleeper. She not only snatches Nasa's quilt every day, but also gets onto his bed at midnight. When they lie together on the single bed, Nasa can't help but hug her. Tsukasa does not refuse Nasa, even kissing him, but it doesn't take long for her to return to the floor. Nasa is so eager to have intimacy with Tsukasa that he can't fall asleep for the whole night. To realize the idea of sleeping with Tsukasa, Nasa decides to move to a larger apartment. Unexpectedly, Tsukasa thinks the opposite. The small place makes her feel the presence of Nasa better. Hearing this, Nasa feels shy, but he does not give up on moving. Kaname is furious to learn that they have been living in a small apartment without a bathroom. If her future husband makes her live in such a place, she would definitely beat him up. Later, Nasa accidentally bumps into Tsukasa changing clothes, and he takes this opportunity to explain to Tsukasa the disadvantages of a small room. In addition to this, he tempts Tsukasa with a special film screening room. Eventually, Tsukasa is convinced and agrees to move. When Tsukasa mentions that they need a guarantor for renting a house, Nasa realizes that he hasn't told his parents about getting married, so he calls his mother to tell her that he was married to the cutest girl in the universe. Tsukasa blushes when she heard Nasa's praise to her. Out of courtesy, Tsukasa proposes they go together to meet Nasa's parents. Unexpectedly, Nasa's mother has already known his intention is to have her be his guarantor for renting a new apartment, so she proposes a condition that he must bring Tsukasa back. The hometown of Nasa is in Nara. There is no direct shuttle bus between Tokyo and Nara, so they need to go to Kyoto first to transfer. Nasa plans to take the opportunity to stay in Kyoto for one night as their honeymoon trip, while Tsukasa also takes a camera to record their memories. Nasa is interested in photographing, having taken a lot of pictures of Tsukasa. As everything is prepared, they board the bus to Kyoto together. Tsukasa believes that Nasa's parents must be nice people and look forward to meeting them. Meanwhile, Chitose has sent someone to follow them. She is surprised to learn that Tsukasa will not only meet Nasa's parents, but they are also going on a honeymoon together. In order to break them apart, Chitose decides to follow them all the way. Upon arriving at the service area, Chitose notices that Nasa has left his wallet on the bus. She thinks Nasa's carelessness will surely enrage Tsukasa. However, Tsukasa doesn't hold Nasa accountable for small mistakes, and even holds his hand. Together they come to the cafeteria, where Tsukasa sees an advertisement for lime udon and decide to try the new dish. Although the taste of lime udon is very strange, the scene of them feeding each other is very sweet. seeing them get along well without any quarrels. Chitose feels very upset. While Nasa goes to the bathroom, Chitose comes to Tsukasa, accusing her of being obsessed with love like ordinary girls. At this time, a trick show starts its shooting in the service area. In order not to be involved in the show, Tsukasa hurriedly pulls Nasa back to the bus, because Chitose has always been very opposed to her marriage. Tsukasa is afraid that Nasa's parents will not like her either. Upon arrival in Kyoto, Nasa plans to take Tsukasa to experience the local history and culture. At his urging, Tsukasa changes into a kimono. Just as Nasa is mesmerized by Tsukasa, Chitose suddenly appears in front of them. Nasa wants their marriage to be blessed by all, so he decides to have a talk with Chitose to gain her approval. As Chitose believes that only through intimacy can she get to know him better, she proposes to pretend to be a couple with Nasa, at which point she will judge whether he is worthy of Tsukasa based on his performance. Nasa is very confident in himself. Based on the travel guide he prepared, he takes Chitose to visit Kyoto and enjoy food. Through Nasa's perfect performance, Chitose realizes that he is Tsukasa's ideal type, but despite this, she still feels very unwilling. She thinks she is the one who knows Tsukasa best, while Nasa knows nothing about her past. To make Chitose understand their feelings, Nasa tells her about their encounter. The moment he saw Tsukasa, he felt that she was his destined partner. Although he doesn't know much about Tsukasa, he plans to spend the rest of his life proving his love. In the end, Chitose is persuaded by Nasa and stops following them. After that, Nasa and Tsukasa get on the train to Nara. He tells Tsukasa that his father is an archaeologist who once taught at Tokyo National University. It wasn't until he began to live alone that his father decided to go to Nara to do archaeological excavations. Coupled with the fact that his mother likes Nara's deer, they settle there. To Nasa's surprise, as soon as they arrive in Nara, Tsukasa recognizes the surrounding mountains. She says even after 1,000 years, the appearance of the mountain does not change. Nasa doesn't understand the meaning of her words, thinking that Tsukasa is just nervous. Just then, he finds his mother hiding in the doorway peeking at them, seemingly even more nervous than he and Tsukasa. As they officially greet each other, Nasa's father asks Tsukasa to have a private conversation, where he reveals to her that Nasa is very important to them. When he learned that Nasa had an accident, he was terrified. He is grateful to Tsukasa for saving Nasa and is very supportive of their marriage. Tsukasa is glad that she has the approval of Nasa's father, and hopes that they will get along well in the future. Meanwhile, Nasa's mother reminds him that she and his father's room is next door to Nasa's, and thus Nasa should be careful about the noise he and Tsukasa make at night. Nasa soon realizes that they are going to sleep together. Thinking that his parents are in the next room, Nasa is both nervous and a little excited. Before falling asleep, he asks Tsukasa for a goodnight kiss. Although they don't have an intimate interaction, Nasa feels happy and satisfied. Tsukasa is very adaptable and sleeps well wherever she goes. When she wakes up, she mistakenly thinks that Nasa is still sleeping, so she directly changes clothes in the room. But in fact, Nasa is just pretending to sleep. He peeks into Tsukasa's private parts and gets blushed. After breakfast, Tsukasa plans to visit some historic sites in Nara with Nasa. Although she is not interested in ancient buildings, she knows history pretty well, and she tells Nasa a lot of things about history. After the tour, they bid farewell to Nasa's parents and set off on their journey home. Unexpectedly, a fire broke out in a small apartment of Nasa due to a bolt of falling lightning, causing them to lose their accommodation. Thankfully, Nasa finds the gift they got from the staff of the marriage registry office in the ruins. He tells Tsukasa not to worry, because he kept all their passbooks and valuables in the safe he rented. Moreover, when he applied for insurance, he prepared various claim materials and stored them in cloud servers and safes. Despite the misfortune that happened, Nasa does not complain, but thinks about how to deal with it, which makes Tsukasa feel that she really found the right person, and her love for Nasa grows. Learning of what has happened to them, Kaname offers a residence for them to stay. Nasa is rejoiced, immediately telling the good news to Tsukasa. Kaname's house is very spacious and they feel so grateful to her. Tsukasa believes the reason why Kaname offers to help them is that Nasa is a very kind person. Receiving a compliment from Tsukasa, Nasa can't help but blush a little. Little do they know now, Aya likes Nasa very much, but she seems to not yet realize that Nasa and Tsukasa are a couple. Not until Aya's mother explains it to her does she know she has fallen out of love, but she is not degraded by this. Instead, she gives her sincerest wishes to Nasa. A few days later, Tsukasa and Nasa come to the laundromat together. Because most of Tsukasa's clothes were destroyed in the fire, she is not wearing underwear today. Embarrassed, she asks Nasa not to look at her, but Nasa seems to be excited, and he takes a photo as a souvenir. After that, Nasa takes Tsukasa to the mall to buy some clothes. no matter what Tsukasa wears. He thinks she looks very cute. Then, Tsukasa and Nasa will start a new life in Kane's house. Tsukasa is quite good at cooking, and she prepares a very delicious tonkatsu for Nasa. She tells Nasa that she wants to conquer his heart with delicious food so that he can never leave her. These words make Nasa very shy. Soon after, the landlord of Nasa's previous condo calls to tell him that he is going to rebuild the house, and if Nasa is willing to continue renting, the rent would be the same. For reference, he leaves the address of the sample house to Nasa. As the conditions provided by the landlord sound not bad, Nasa takes Tsukasa to visit the sample house. To their surprise, the sample house turns out to be a luxury apartment. The view from the bathroom and the queen-size double bed are so desirable. Seeing this, they make an agreement to sleep in the same bed when they move into the new apartment. Unfortunately, they then receive an email from the landlord at the end of the tour saying that he accidentally sent the wrong address of the sample house, and he apologizes to him in the email. Nasa is a bit disappointed, but Tsukasa reassures him that whatever kind of house has its advantages and disadvantages. She doesn't care about the size of the house. As long as Nasa is there, it is her destination. Nasa thinks the same way as Tsukasa, but he still wants her to have a better life. Since they still have to live in Kane's place for a while, Tsukasa decides to help Kane clean the bathhouse every day to repay her. Kane shows Tsukasa the cleaning tools in the bathhouse. Seeing this, Tsukasa admires Kane very much. Even with a robot sweeper, it is not easy for Kane to clean every corner of the bathhouse. After a while together, their relationship becomes much closer. One day, Nasa takes Tsukasa for a walk in the woods. The quiet surroundings make them feel they are the only ones left in the world. Under such romantic atmosphere, Nasa can't help but hug Tsukasa from behind. Her body is slender and soft, impressing him a lot. They express their love for each other and vow to be together forever. In the following story, Tsukasa encounters Chitose while passing by the small apartment Nasa used to live in. Chitose is surprised that their residence has caught fire and asks where she lives now. Tsukasa lies that they are now living in the park, and then she sneaks away while Chitose isn't paying attention. When she returns home, she finds Nasa working on a kitchen utensil. She tells Nasa that it is used to make takoyaki. Nasa loves takoyaki and decides to throw a takoyaki party, inviting Kaname and Aya to join them. At this moment, Chitose catches up with Tsukasa. She is shocked to learn that Tsukasa has to stay in the bathhouse. Since Chitosa's emotion is getting out of control, Kaname suggests that she take a bath to cool off. Surprisingly, Chitose finds herself loving taking a bath in the bathhouse, but she still doesn't want Chitose to live here and begs her to come home with her. Tsukasa does not want to be separated from Nasa and rejects Chitose. In order to bring Chitose closer, Nasa invites her to a party, where they decide to play an action game together. Nasa rarely plays games and is the weakest of all. Surprisingly, Tsukasa is very good at playing games. With her excellent gaming skills, she beats everyone. After that, Nasa develops a high fever because of working all night. He is worried about infecting Tsukasa, but Tsukasa says she won't get sick. Without thinking much, Nasa's groggy head puts him to sleep soon. When he wakes up, Nasa feels much better. As he sweated a lot during sleep, Tsukasa offers to wipe his body, which makes Nasa think it's nice to get sick once in a while. While sleeping at night, Tsukasa takes the initiative to hug Nasa. She was worried about him and wants him to pay more attention to his health. Nasa promises her, while trying to take the opportunity to have an intimate interaction with her. But as he has not fully recovered, Tsukasa stops his move. As the fireworks festival approaches, Tsukasa changes into a yukata to go out with Nasa. Seeing Tsukasa's cute outfit, Nasa is deeply fascinated by her. They hold hands to attend the fireworks display and make a wish in front of the shrine. Tsukasa wishes the world to be peaceful, her marriage to be happy, and most importantly, Nasa to be healthy. Nasa means a lot to her, and she wants him to be happy and healthy forever. At the end of the story, they watch the brilliant fireworks together. Nasa vows in his heart that he will always hold her hand no matter how everything changes. That brings the end of this anime. Love is mutual. The love between Nasa and Tsukasa with no tricks, greed and desire is the purest love, although it is more like a day-to-day romantic story. The plots are funny and interesting. When I watched it, I could feel how beautiful love is. It is worth mentioning that the second season of TONIKAWA, Over the Moon for You, has aired in April. And if you like this anime, please leave continue in the comment area so I'll know if I should recap the second season. Also, if you are into this kind of romantic anime, you can comment your favorite one below, and I'll pick some to explain. Finally, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and I hope to see you in my next video.